Here we go again, folks. Thanks for the kind comments which you folks have been leaving here on my clips. A common theme that's been recurring recently is people have been asking me about strumming patterns which I'm using, because a lot of the clips I'm putting on here I'm tending to concentrate on the fretted positions with the left hand. So this is to sort of explain what I'm trying to aim for here with the funk rhythm guitar styles that I'm doing. Basically, I started off on acoustic guitar, it was, and I was obsessed with this sort of this technique where you damp the strings with the heel of your right hand. Of getting that rhythm whereby you would let the strings sound and just the right time to dampen it. So that sort of played a part in the technique I was using. To sort of slow that down, it's sort of like a that sort of rhythm that I'm aiming for. When I first remember going to see a live band when I was just starting to learn guitar many years ago, and I have the viewpoint that you guys have got with the camera now to see the guitarist, and what I noticed, I was watching his right hand, and where my style seemed to be at that time, I was sort of, my whole arm was going into the process. The guitarist pretty much through all the pieces he was playing kept his hand, his arm, his forearm pretty much perched on the guitar like that, and it seemed that the main rhythm was coming from his wrist as opposed to elbow or shoulder or whatever, and sort of it was like an economy of movement. But I went home and sort of took that on board, and this is what I'm aiming for now, so that pretty much you've got a point of reference. You know, with a lot of the funk styles that I'm doing, you're not strumming all strings, you're just picking out the top 3 strings or whatever. So what I'm aiming for usually when I'm playing is I have my forearm resting lightly on the top of the body, and not very firm, just press lightly against it, and I've got to start with the heel of my palm over the bridge saddles here. So you can choose, you've got the control over whether you use full damp, half damp or open string pretty much when you're strumming it. And I find that if you're using the old style, I've got like a free-form style, and if you're just picking out one string, you know, it's pretty much hit and miss. Whereas if you have your forearm in place and the movement's just coming from a limited source, like from your wrist, it's quite easy to have that reference point for accuracy for picking the strings. Because I watch a lot of guitar players here on YouTube, and they seem to have the whole arm sort of swinging away at it. Great if you're going for a really sort of Pete Townsend type thing, but sometimes you might want to have that extra control over the strings, what you're hitting. So a large part of it as well, if I'm playing like a fretted, so my right hand, for example, is, but I also, it's like the left hand and the right hand sometimes work in unison, that you can ease on, press on and off the fret to get some sort of movement with that. But I always stress to people the best thing really is to put a bit of time in yourself with the guitar and experiment with different types of patterns that you feel comfortable with, and see which natural style, you know, develops with you and what you feel comfortable with. Another question is the type of picks. I know that a lot of people use different kinds of picks, what I've spoken to, and I've tried all sorts of different types, and the ones I'm sort of comfortable with now are these are sort of nylon picks, which are they're a 1mm pick, so you've got a bit of give in them, and that seems to be a crucial thing to me. I don't like the picks that are very sort of rigid. Those sort of things, I know that people use those for speed when they're doing sort of single note picking, and you can get them made out of stone or rock or things like that. But I saw an interview recently with Nile Rodgers whereby the guy actually picked up one of his picks and made a point about how flexible it was. It was, you know, even more flexible than mine apparently. And the way it sort of goes is that when you're playing sort of rhythm and you're pushing the pick through the strings, it's like maybe it's along the same lines as a paintbrush, in that when you're using a paintbrush to paint a wall, you don't want something that's very rigid. You want it to sort of yield, you know, as you're actually going through the strings. The other thing as well that I've given up using these tortoiseshell type hard shiny surface picks is that you tend to hear a very demonstrative clack. It makes a clacking sound which comes through the pickup, where when you've got the shiny surface of it hitting the string, there's a like clacker sound that's going on. With these sort of nylon picks, it seems to be that you're hitting the, you aren't getting a very, you know, impact from the sound of the pick, and what you're sort of getting is the actual tone of the string itself rather than the pick itself coming through. So that's just my own viewpoint on the way that I use these picks. Funnily enough, I tend to use, you've got this sort of pick there, and the way I've sort of gone through it, I sort of use the top edge of the pick, strangely enough, rather than the bottom edge, because it's slightly more rigid. To use for that sort of thing. So those are little idea that I've some ideas basically about how I approach sort of the strumming patterns here on, you know, sort of what I do. So all right, thanks very much for watching. Bye for now. Bye bye.